that was in the opening half at Rugby Park, I have no idea. Cohesion, absence, fragility, totally on show. There was just so many things wrong with it. At one end of the pitch, Celtic really couldn't put anything together. At the other end, they were too easily exposed. And to be honest with you, I don't think anybody could have argued with the scoreline at half time that it was 2-0 for Kilmarnock. I know Celtic had one or two chances down the other end that the final pass kind of let them down, or they missed in front of goal. But in general, play a 2-goal lead, I think was fair enough for Kilmarnock.
I agree. Aye.
But Celtic's response, Martin O'Neill, he's having to pull things out of the fire at the moment. He made changes at the half-time interval, and in fairness, I don't think there was a solitary Celtic fan inside the ground or watching on television who weren't screaming themselves for changes. And probably the ones that the manager made were the ones they were calling for as well.
He could have taken anyone off really at half time, couldn't he?
I think so. I think he said that after the game, didn't he, Martin O'Neill, that he could have taken 7 off at one stage. I think it might even have been more. But the ones he got them right. He got the replacements right. The changes. Sebastian Tenetsky had a brilliant impact. And I think Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain was just massive, to help out Callum McGregor in the middle of the pitch. It wasn't just the fact that Oxlade-Chamberlain went on and did his thing. It was just offering some support in there to Callum McGregor, which allowed him to be much better in the second half. I'm sure through this podcast we will go through the various reasons why that was. But in answer to your question, 2 separate starting points yesterday, but when it got to the end, Celtic had all that mattered, 3 points.
Look, like you say, 3 points is all that matters. But the second half, it wasn't even really an onslaught for Celtic. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like they completely peppered the Kilmarnock goal and Kilmarnock just gave in. It was really weird because they only really had sort of 3 or 4 chances and took them. It was just an odd game. Yeah,
Celtic aren't dominating games at the moment. That's the problem, and that comes through the midfield area. We've spoken long on this podcast for weeks, months even, that it's just not been cohesive in there. The participants, whenever they've come in, Pilla Bernardo, Rio Hatate, Luke McCowan, everyone's had a chance, Arne Engels, it's just not really worked. Callum McGregor's been the constant. It's not really worked. Callum McGregor's taking criticism this year, unfairly in my view. I think if there's a proper balance around him, Callum McGregor's as good a player as he ever was.
I agree.
I think there's a problem in that score. And I just think that Celtic had it's strange, isn't it? Because there's different dynamics of the game. I know at the start of the season that what was the phrase that was always used? The horseshoe of boredom, or the horseshoe. Celtic would keep the ball. The guys in the under Brendan Rodgers, that's what it was. But they dominated teams, and they had a real domination of the ball, a control of the ball. There was a control of the game, the tempo of the game, the pace of the game. Celtic haven't done that for months. They're now just becoming like basketball games. And Celtic are a team that are relying on moments at the moment. If you think about it, when it's 2-0 yesterday, they aren't really fashioning any chances. You don't feel things building. And then Sebastian Tenetsky gets a ball out of his feet 25 yards out and fires it into the top corner. That's a moment. That's just a moment. A long throw, bobble, moment. Negrin's where he needs to be, scores. There's 2 goals that have come from, you can say, fantastic finishing from Tenetsky and good anticipation from Negrin, but I think most people understand what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
This isn't making save after save. Celtic aren't hitting a bar. Things are just happening, and it just went down to the very last minute. As you say, going into the last 10 minutes. And it was the same against Dundee the previous Saturday. Slightly different, I would say, maybe against Livingston, even though the chances dried up in the second half. There was a feeling Celtic might score that night, and they created chances at the start of the game. But towards the end of the Dundee game in the Scottish Cup, usually in that situation, John McCracken's pulling off saves left, right and centre. Celtic are peppering the goal. Usually looked like scoring until Adamian scored, and it was kind of the same. They had a bit more pressure, I would say, at Rugby Park in the last sort of 10-15 minutes in terms of more territorial advantage, but they weren't carving out more opportunities. But they made one of the great spin for Trinchara and great finish from Araujo. So.
I completely agree. It was just really peculiar in that sense. And if you look back at the last 4 games, including yesterday, if you're watching rather than listening, you can see it on your screen now. That's the 3 teams at the bottom of the league that Celtic have needed last minute. Obviously, 2-0 against Falkirk before that. But the last 3 games, 3 teams at the bottom of the league, last minute winners against all of them. And again, Celtic fans might say, oh, well, listen, that's what champions do. This is it. Celtic are always going to win. But I'm not sure that's sustainable to be doing this every week. You're going to get caught out at some point.
I don't think it's not just to me, it's not sustainable at all. Dan, I mean, the statistics this season are phenomenal. I mean, the amount of times that they've come up with late goals and have won games late, and that's a magnificent credit to the resilience of the players. And I think there's also a mindset with opposing teams now. With Celtic, you know, you go into the last 5-10 minutes into injury time, and you just get deeper and deeper and deeper into your own box because you're thinking, oh no, you kind of know what's coming. And Celtic have done it. I mean, they did it in the opening day of the season, scored with 2 minutes to go against St Mirren.
Yeah.
Did it in Paisley. I mean, they've did it at Rugby Park the time before, actually, in the league, when Iniacho scored the penalty in injury time. And that's even before Martin O'Neill's late workings in recent weeks. I agree with you, Daniel. I don't think that's sustainable. I don't think you can continue to win football matches like that. I think everyone knows that. Listen, Martin O'Neill knows it better than anybody. He said it after Rugby Park. Can't continue to keep doing this. Celtic need to get a grip of games, get a control of games, get themselves in front and be dominating the ball. That's what they need to do. But you've just made the point. They've just played the three of the bottom teams. That's not going to be an easy thing to do it. Ibrox twice. Pittodrie, Stuttgart, Hibs, even on Sunday at Celtic Park. You know, this is going to be tougher to do that. So maybe Celtic will step it up.